Here's a question for you. Should Manchester United have stuck with David Moyes? That's David Moyes, who's doing absolutely brilliant work at West Ham. That's David Moyes, who's got more wins than any other Premier League manager in history, aside from two names, Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson. Hugh, you're a Man United fan. It's quite an obvious answer, isn't it? Of course, Manchester United should have stuck with David Moyes. Agree with me. Off you go.
Absolutely no way. For those of us that went to the game against Fulham, where Man United put in 81 crosses against 6'7" Brede Hangeland and Dan Burn, the answer will forever be absolutely no way. Look, he wasn't ready for that job. I know it seemed like he had the experience after Preston and Everton to fill the job at Manchester United, but he spoke himself about it at the time. He didn't realise the number of commitments of the players at a club like Manchester United. He didn't realise how the tours that Manchester United went on across the world would be these huge mega events, how he wouldn't have the time on the pitch with the players that he thought he was going to. He just wasn't ready to manage a super club at that time. And the real questions you've got to ask yourself was, the real question you've got to ask yourselves, should Real Sociedad have got rid of him? Should Sunderland have got rid of him? Should West Ham have got rid of him the first time? He has turned things around. He has turned things around in his career. But let's be honest, it's taken him a long time to get to this point. And if we go back 6 years or whatever it was, nearly 7 years, it had to be, yes, you need to sack David Moyes. They had to keep the standards at the club. Unfortunately, they haven't since.
Of the managers that Manchester United have had, you got Jose, Van Gaal, of course, you got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think David Moyes would have been the one. I think when things go wrong, of course,
the one that
would. I reckon Man United would be in a better scenario right now if they'd stuck with him for 6 years. Of course, it would never happen. It's hypothetical. But if that had been the case, in terms of the managers that are there, in terms of managers that can evolve and develop, be humble, but also have set standards, I think David Moyes would have been capable of doing that. And I think you would have had more trophies, or certainly been in a more stable position in terms of this bloated squad and the sort of phases of play of how poor that is as well, if David Moyes had been there from day one to right now. And I don't think you could say the same with the other managers that have passed through at Old Trafford.
Well, whether or not you think David Moyes is an incredible manager or not, you have to say the job he's doing at West Ham is fantastic. Could they finish in the top four and go to the Champions League? That would be incredible. I think definitely they could. I think in terms of the best teams in the league, I think they are the fourth best team. I think they're better than Manchester United, Arsenal, Spurs. On their day, they are better than all three of those.
I think the concern has got to be depth. You've got the Europa League, of course, coming back as well. One injury to Antonio. I know at times he's not scoring the goals, but what he brings overall is so huge to them. Of course, you've got Jarrod Bowen, who's absolutely flying them out. He's the Jesse Lingard of this season. Been directly involved in 13 goals in his last 18 Premier League matches, 6 goals and 7 assists, scored in the last 2 games as well, which has been very annoying for my FPL team. My big problem with this is, and I'm a fixtures guy, it's the home form and then the away games. The home form, you've got to win these games. Watford, Newcastle at home, Aston Villa at home. And then those away games are really, really tricky. Liverpool still to play, Leicester still to play in this tough run. I look at the other teams and I just feel, especially with Arsenal and Spurs not having to deal with European football and having quite a nice run of games coming up, I just think they're going to maybe have a little bit too much for them. I really hope not. I'd love to see West Ham get in the Champions League. I think it'd be great for the Premier League and for all the other teams that are dreaming of that. I just wonder. You play the same 19 teams home and away. Okay, by the end of this season, we all would have been through the same thing. I think West Ham have solidity. They have structure, fantastic coaching. They have periods of every single match they play that they dominate. The only issues that they've had so far this season, a crisis in terms of injuries in central defence, that's really affected them. And Mikel Antonio's injury record, they don't have a second striker that can really back him up in terms of goals and performance. If they can address that in the January transfer window, maybe both of those things, and get a defender as well, then for me, they are dead certs to be in the top 4 because they are a better side than Arsenal, than Manchester United, and than Spurs, especially when it comes to taking on the bigger teams. You say they've got difficult games, but actually those games, West Ham United, are much better, stronger competition for the best teams in the league. And I actually think there's a good chance they can finish in the top 4. Fingers crossed for them. A week ago, the whole world, including myself and Hugh, were suggesting that Cristiano Ronaldo needed to be the captain of Manchester United. It wasn't working with Harry Maguire. Cristiano Ronaldo had come out and made a very clear statement that the mentality needed to be better, and who has a better mentality than Cristiano Ronaldo? Well, he got taken off, of course, in the game against Brentford, and he wasn't happy about it. So with that in mind, and seeing that kind of behaviour as he went onto the substitutes bench, should he be captain now after seeing that, Hugh?
I was extremely disappointed to see it. I know Manchester United fans have been debating this. Does that show how good his attitude is? He wants to play every minute of every game. He wants to go out there and perform. That's the sort of leader we need. I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're 2-0 up against Brentford. You're in a comfortable position. You've got a big game coming against West Ham. The manager's taking you off. Why on earth are you throwing a strop? 5 days after giving interviews saying young players these days have basically, they need to follow my example. Why wouldn't you want to speak to me? And I'm always happy to help. That really showed, a great leader in there. And that showed someone with maturity. Then he's acting like a baby when he gets substituted in the manager's ear, sits down in the dugout and won't stop chirping. I actually was embarrassed for him. He's almost 37 years old. I mean, take aside the fact he's got a football kit on. He's got 4 kids. I mean, for God's sake, he's been spending too much time with him. He's had too many babies around him, as far as I'm concerned. So unnecessary. And I think the big thing for me is he knows what a big figure is in the world of football. He knows every single one of his actions is going to be poured over by people like us. He knows that. So to not just, even if you're annoyed, come off, sit down, keep yourself to yourself, and have a word with the manager in private. I was really disappointed by that. And maybe that is why he's not the Manchester United captain, because Bruno Fernandes was, and he was still whinging and moaning like he usually was. I think maybe there's a shout now for David De Gea.
Well, I guess you're getting pretty far down the line with this. Here's the little sort of, switch that I would make on it. I stand by the fact that he should be given the captaincy for the reason alone as to make him accountable for that kind of behavior. I couldn't agree more with you. The guy's too old to be behaving like that and not accepting the context, both of the game and the season. Cristiano Ronaldo is so important to this Manchester United side. And again, I come back to the things I said last week. I think it's not because he's the best leader or the best captain. I actually think you give him that responsibility. And so then when he does something like this, it actually makes it explode even more. Yes, we're touching on it here because, of course, it's Ronaldo. But if it's Ronaldo and he's the captain, then it makes all those words that have come out of his mouth recently suggesting that mentality needs to be better and they need to work together individually for the betterment of the team. It completely throws that in the mud. Hi guys, James Alcott here from ESPN's Football Forecast. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and you want to check out more, make sure you subscribe to ESPN UK.